Yep.
Sure.
Your initial interest in music, did you come from a musical family at all?
Well, I mean, certainly they weren't professional, but they had interest. My father liked Western songs, like the Sons of the Pioneers and stuff, and he had done some singing. You know, he had a pretty good voice. My mother had a good voice, quite a good voice. But again, it was never like they did anything professional or anything like that. But I had a grandfather who played a little harmonica. You know, just, I mean, not much. But he would sometimes get in a certain mood and sort of try to make up a song or something. And but I always had that, wanted to do that apparently from the time I was a little bitty kid, you know.
You remember your first? All right. Do you remember your first guitar?
Well, yeah, my first real guitar was an old Harmony that had a very bad neck on it that was almost impossible to play it, really. But I was about 14 or 13 maybe when I got that. And before that, I'd had these sort of really toy guitars as a little kid, you know. And I always wanted a guitar and just could never really get one until I was about 13 or 14.
I believe you moved around a lot too in your childhood. How influential was this, do you think, in developing your musical taste?
Well, we moved around a small area, you might say. It's just between Georgia and Alabama, northern Georgia and northern Alabama. But I think it developed sort of the rambler wanderer thing, you know, the unsettled thing. And the towns that we moved to or from would have been somewhat similar in size, and they would have all been deep south, you know.
Yep.
But I did get to hear local music, sometimes street singers. Sometimes, of course, there was music at a church or... in those days, it seemed to me there were more local music, you know. And the street singers were a big thing to me. I loved to hear them play.
Now, eventually... All right. Eventually, you settled in California. What influenced that decision, and who were some of your first musical contacts there?
Well, really, I didn't go to California until I was 21 years old, and that had to do with, you know, it was about 63, and I was sort of in trouble in Montgomery and places like that because I was considered to be a kind of a left-wing folk singer, which wasn't too acceptable in a place like Montgomery in 63. And it was kind of, you know, a tense situation sometimes. And so these friends of mine had a record deal in California, a real record deal with Capitol. And they took me with them to play guitar, and they did 2 or 3 of my songs. And that was my real introduction, not only to California, but to, you might say, the real professional world of music, you know. And California was just so different. It was just amazing. And I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, I loved it, but I didn't know how to deal with it, you know, really. I mean, but it got in my blood, and it always has been since 63 as a place that was just simply another world, and was sort of a kindler, gentler world in a way for me, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated with the diversity of it, and the all the different characters, the weather, the scenery, the palm trees, the whole thing. It was just so different, and it seemed to be easier somehow to me.
Now,
I still have a thing about California.
There where you gave away music and went for a straight job in the post office, is that right?
Oh yeah, well in California once I was working as a mailman, and as I always say, I was the worst mailman they ever had. Because in those days, I would drink a lot and late at night, and then I would get up and stumble into work. Of course, I think a lot of mailmen did that too. But what amazed me was when I quit, and I finally got some music going, and I quit, they begged me to stay. I couldn't believe it, you know, that they would want me to continue to work there. Actually, that was a post office in Silver Lake Echo Park, and a lot of people spoke Spanish, and I couldn't speak any Spanish at that time, and I was always confused. And Didn't know where the mail went, and all that.
Did you put the guitar away totally during that time?
Oh no, never did that. I mean, I once had a music store. I tried different things, but I mean, writing or playing is something I would never quit doing. It was just a matter of more quitting or not doing much performing, you might say.
Yeah.
But I mean, writing or playing, I don't think one could really stop that no matter what. It's just something that you have to do or that you're going to want to do at some point.
Yeah. How do you look back on your time with Stone Country now? I believe it wasn't a totally settled outfit.
Well, Stone Country was just a group of very different pulls and egos pulling in different directions. I would put it like that. Now, some of us were sort of in tune, like Richard Miller, Don Beck, and I were kind of one side of it. The other side was sort of trying to pull it in a different direction. Excuse me. So there was a lot of tension and arguing and so on about what is this group going to do and what are they going to be, and it wound up with a very kind of diverse thing, But I sort of, in the end, kind of won that little ego battle, which there was nothing to win, though. Really, I mean, at the end of it all, we just sort of weren't going anywhere, and then I got a chance to do a record on my own, and so I left the group. And I think after that, the group just kind of fell apart, really.
Reason particular why you didn't stay with RCA as a solo act after they wound up?
You mean from the 70s?
Yeah.
Well, I think that there was a lot of factors there. Number one, RCA just didn't feel like they sold enough records. On the second one, I think. And also, I think that was just a kind of a bottoming out time for me with my alcohol and drug habits in those days. And I think it was just kind of getting worse, and that might have been a factor, too, and would have been justified in the RCA's mind, I think. But it's probably had to do with simple sales. I mean, they tried to promote me in a certain way, but it just didn't quite work. And, I mean, I don't really know, but I would think that would be the reason,
In general, over the years, how do you think record companies have handled you or held or understood you and your music?
Not very well at all. I've been, I think mostly misunderstood by all the majors that I ever tried to work with. Even at A&M, which I think were nice people. But it was the old story that, this is country, and then they would try to talk to somebody in Nashville, and Nashville would say, no, this really isn't country. And it's the old story that so many people have been caught in, of the category, what category is this? Now, today, I think some of those categories have lessened, a lot, but a lot of my work was really not acceptable to country music audiences as the big mass audience. So some of those people would like it, but also the more rock world or whatever would say, well, it is country. And so you're just kind of caught in between, I always call my music folk country blues, with touches of rock, so you can get as many categories as possible.
How do you feel about people trying to pigeonhole your music? Do you
I don't like it at all. I mean, see, I would like to do a lot of different things. I would like to do orchestrated things if I could. I would like to use, sometimes on certain concepts, keyboards and sounds. Now, some people, that really upsets them. Because I did a crude record once with using some synthesizers and things and some unusual material. And I mean, I'm an experimenter, really, at heart,
Yeah.
And that has also detracted and hurt me at times. I mean, I didn't stick to one sound or one little thing. Although I think there's the same spirit in all my music, but it can wear different clothes, And I still like that idea of orchestration and all of that. And I've never been allowed to really do that. I've never had the budgets or the whatever to really do that. But I would like to do it someday. For instance, Van Dyke Parks, a friend of mine in Los Angeles, who knows a lot about orchestration and classical music and so on, would like to do an album someday with me doing folk songs or whatever, and him doing string parts and things. I think that would be interesting, stuff like that.
With the independent labels in more recent years would be more satisfying for you?
Yeah. I'm certainly more understood by small labels, independent labels, yes, by far, than I was ever understood or accepted by the majors, yeah.
Now, you were fortunate enough to work with the late Graham Parsons. Can you tell us a little bit about him and indeed what he was like to work with?
Well, Graham was, to me, he always had a tragic air about him. And I'd say a very southern, talking about the U.S., southern character, and a sort of just an air of tragedy and an air of being frail or fragile about him. And I always just picked up on that all the time, no matter if he was laughing or having a good time or whatever. That was just seemed to me to be always with him. And he was in his way, I think, a very giving guy. He was totally into the music, and he wanted to make it work. And he identified with me. He liked what I was doing. We were both born in Georgia, and we were both in Los Angeles. And, he was more out there on sort of going for it than I was. I was more reticent. I think he was trying to sort of pull me out a little bit, saying, come on, let's try to make this work here, this music, whatever it was that we were doing. And I think he was the one who was really doing the real, beginnings of country rock and all that. And I was still, there was a lot more tradition in me than him, I would say, in one way. He was just doing a lot of moral support. He's just very supportive,
As an artist, do you think we got to hear the best of him, or do you think he maybe still had his best work ahead of him?
Well, God, I don't know. I think that would be impossible to answer. I don't think that one can go on forever doing drugs and stuff like that. So I don't know how that would have affected him in later years, His creativity, had he survived, might have matured and just went right on, but I don't know. I think it probably would have, knowing him. I think he would always have been an artist.
Now, the general consensus among people about yourself is that you've never really sold great quantities of records or had the recognition that you've deserved. Has that lack of fame and fortune, I guess, been a matter of major concern to you at any particular time?
Well, yeah, off and on, although I've just kind of come to accept it. And I think that it's certainly not, I think that it's not a matter of talent, but it's a matter of possibly some unconscious choosing. And I don't think there's any clear answer to it, but I think that often I was the one who defeated any chance to really make it. And a lot of that had to do with alcohol and drugs and, maybe just the old fear of success thing, a theory.
Yep.
There's no clear answer to it. But sometimes I feel like I'm sort of an alien from another planet, and I can't understand people's tastes, And my tastes seem to be so different, and I think that I'm much more like serious or deeper or philosophical, and I think that the mass of people, they don't want to deal with all that, I guess, and sometimes I just feel kind of like I'm an alien or something. But that's the way things are, regardless. I really do not believe, not just myself, but and I think many talented people do make it, but also I seem to be missing a gene about being aware of all that and how to manipulate things and how to get more towards the top of things. It's like somehow I don't have that gene. I don't know if I have a great interest in that. I just sort of do what I do, and then things fall as they fall. And I don't know how and where that comes from. I've noticed some of that similar attitude, say, for instance, in American Indians or people like that, and I don't know if it's related to that or not, but I've never been able to figure it out. In short, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I know that I have had something to do, a lot to do, and maybe all to do with creating it. So I can't really blame somebody else for it.
Now, let's talk about just songwriting. Is there any particular point in time you can pinpoint where you really felt that you started to develop a great confidence in your writing?
A great confidence?
Yeah.
Well, I think only recently have I come to realize that at times I can really write a song that some people, even if they are a minority of people, would be able to appreciate. And I'm still frustrated that at times it just seems so slow, or I can't finish the ideas, and sometimes they take years. And then sometimes I think also I need to work on it harder, really. I need to have more discipline. I need to approach it more, the work side of it. I love the inspiration side of it. And I'm an emotional kind of writer. But I need to more work on being more productive, and sometimes that frustrates me. It's just that you get so distracted so easily into all other little things of life, or survival or whatever, that it seems to get harder to find the time to do the work of writing. And there are many, many, many ideas that are unfinished. I mean, like hundreds. But I think that I do have the ability to write.
Do you judge yourself harshly when you're writing? Are you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm always a very, very severe judge of myself. In fact, too much so.
What for you would be the key to a successful song? What attribute are you always striving for there?
Well, a song, I think, is something that would soar. It would just kind of soar. That would be the word for me. It would fly. It would sail. And I think I would even use the word that a great song has almost a sense of nobility about it, even. Now, I mean, that's a kind of serious approach, though. I recently wrote a song about Selena Quintanilla, the Tejano singer, a Mexican-American singer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's unusual. People say, why, but I don't know. I became fascinated by her presence. And I think this maybe is one of the best songs I've ever written. But now, nobody else, I don't think, agrees with that. But, I may see my songs in a very different way than people out there, And really, they're the ones that perhaps they can judge it better than me. I don't know.
Now, many people have covered your songs over the years. Are there any particular covers of your songs by others that hold a special place for you?
Well, yeah. I think that on Seven Bridges, that there were a lot of very, very good versions of it. I think Ian Matthews' version was very good. And I do like the Eagles version as well. I like... Tracy Nelson did a version of it I thought was good, very good. I don't know, there's songs like Long Way to Hollywood that Hank Jr. did before, when Hank Jr. was a little bit more artistic a long time ago, or creative, you might say. He did a version of Long Way to Hollywood I thought was good. And I'm always interested to hear people's versions, no matter what they do, how they do it.
Yeah,
I'm always interested to hear how they would do it, how they hear it, and I appreciate them arranging it, taking a liberty with it or whatever, and arranging it how they see it.
For the current crop of songwriters that are attracting your attention.
I'm not sure that any of them that I'm all that fascinated with it, or maybe I don't even listen enough. I'm just kind of off in my own world. and I'm more interested maybe in world music or Celtic music or things like that than I am. I mean, I hear some good songs and hear some good songwriters, and a lot of whom are just unknown people floating around. But I don't know that I can put my finger on anyone that I think this is really thrills me or something.
Now, let's talk about recording. Are you comfortable? Would you say you're comfortable in the studio environment? Enjoy recording?
No, I think making a record is very difficult in a way. I keep trying to get home recording, home studios worked out so that it would be more comfortable, more relaxed, and I have had some success with that, but I find it very difficult to understand or make technical things work, but I keep trying to do that. And maybe someday I will be able to do that. I've made some progress there. Where, if you reach one of those relaxed moments where you're just playing, like playing in your kitchen, and you get it on tape,
Yeah.
That would be the best, I think.
Do you have any new recordings on the horizon?
Oh, yeah. Well, I am supposed to do a record, in fact, for Shock of Australia.
Oh, really?
And we hope to start recording sometime shortly after the first of the year. It kind of got delayed, and that is the general plan, to get this record done, started sometime after the first of the year.
Oh, terrific. Would there be plans to follow that up with a visit down here?
I would like to, yes, at some point.
What is the extent of your live work these days, Steve? You're playing around much?
Well, I take it like in spells. I'm the kind of person that had rather go out and stay out a while rather than just coming and going all the time. And so in August, I left Los Angeles and kind of worked eastward. I'm in Nashville now, and then I worked in Texas and different places, and wound up here. And now I've been up north to some places in like Upper Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, doing some gigs. And I'm doing a few around the Nashville area, and I'm going down to Florida and Alabama, and then on some more in Texas, and on back west again, and then hopefully to do this album. So, I just I try to black out certain parts of the year or the time and just kind of do as much as I can.
Yeah.
And then spend the rest of the time trying to write or just get things organized or whatever,
Okay, so look, just to wind up, how would you sum up differences between Steve Young, singer-songwriter, performer in 1998 to the man who began 30-odd years ago?
Between 98 and what?
Between the time of now and the time that you began 30 years ago.
Well, I'd have to say that I'm wiser now.
Yeah.
There was a more innocent, if you want to call it that, 30 years ago. But I mean, essentially, the essence of it all, I don't think is that different. I think that that's a timeless thing. And I think there's something that remains that the essence of it does not change much. I mean, I think you just learn the ropes more after 30 years, finally, even though I'm a slow learner,
Yeah. Okay, Steve, look, thanks very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for all the wonderful music over the years and the great songs. And we look forward to the new album.
Well, thank you very much.
And hopefully you can follow it up with a visit down here. We'd love to see you.
All right, I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thanks again, Steve. You take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.